All right, Scavengers, welcome to episode 27 of the Six Scale Scavengers podcast. New format, same old podcast. We are ready to go. We've got a great show on tap for everybody. We are going to be talking about Falcon from Captain America Civil War, because I'm going to be a good host this time, guys. I'm going to talk about the agenda up front because I usually bury that. But, guys, we are ready to go. And I've got my good friends here, Chris Letty and TC, as you can see on the screen. If we end up getting this to go video to YouTube, we are now using StreamYard and very excited to give this a go. Google Hangouts kind of died a very slow death. Guys, I feel like we were maybe the only podcast out there that was still using it, and we use that to record all of our audio. So we needed to come up with a new format, and StreamYard so far has been pretty good. TC, I know you were in the host chair of the Assemble for Steve last week. Seemed to go really well, so I have some pretty high hopes for this.
Yeah, it was very good. It's pretty crisp. It's simple, and it's very user-friendly, so we're going to give it a try on the podcast. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, things went pretty good with our test run, and had a good conversation on that last Assemble. And I know Steve is itching to get back in the production seat. But yeah, this is great. I mean, I'm looking forward to kind of getting the podcast to this next level, getting a visual for those on YouTube. Hopefully everything goes smoothly. It is a trial and error situation, but things look promising with StreamYard. That's for sure.
So we're a little bit delayed in getting a podcast episode out. Chris, you were just on vacation with the family, and we figured, you and I are pretty synonymous with the podcast. I couldn't do one without you. I mean, TC and I talked about it, but it just wouldn't be the same without the trio. So we are recording a little bit later than normal. We are going to try to go back to back to get back on an every 2-week schedule. And I don't think really anyone's going to complain too much about getting more Hot Toys discussion here with collecting.
Yeah, summer's crazy. Families, vacation, and all that stuff. I went with the whole family up to northern Vermont, Lake Champlain. Same thing we did last year. And just had a great time. Relaxed, drank a lot. Not much toy hunting. Hit up a couple antique shops. Found a few unique things, but nothing hot toys. It's not really big up in that part of the country, but just great to get back in the recording chair and just get this conversation going.
Absolutely. So guys, I know we have Avengers Endgame with a home release. It's already on digital, and I know I'm eagerly waiting the 4K release in 2 days, but who's counting, to be able to finally be able to watch that multiple times at home. And I know that Marvel Studios is kind of slowly trickling out some of the movies that they have in 4K. I think also the Iron Man trilogy and Thor Dark World are also releasing. So it might be a little bit of an expensive day for me on Tuesday, but I've been kind of waiting because I'm going to punish myself, guys. I think I want to go back through the MCU from start to finish.
I didn't know that the release wasn't 4K. I bought Endgame. I thought I bought the 4K version. I guess I just bought the regular HD version. So I guess I might be buying it again. I don't know.
Yeah. So have you guys watched it again?
Only in theaters. I saw it twice in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw it the one time in the theaters, but I did watch it as soon as it came out on digital and ripped through all of the bonus features. I may have shed a few tears with the Stan Lee tribute. Highly recommend that one. I definitely want to look at or watch the commentary. And that movie, I mean, there's so much to that movie. It's super deep. There's a lot going on. So many storylines being tied up. It's just an awesome movie. and I really wish I had gotten to see it at least one other time in the theater. But yeah, it's going to be one of those multi viewing movies. So
Yeah, I agree. And just randomly, I woke up this morning and got my son up out of bed, and the first thing he pops up, and he had this new Iron Man theory. He goes, "Dad, I think Iron Man got into trouble because he snapped his fingers. He didn't have the real gauntlet. He had to act so fast. He didn't have a chance to get it, and that's why." And I'm like, that's bring a little tear to my eye.
Did he actually see the movie yet?
I took him to see it, so we did see it.
Nice.
That was a really cool father-son moment. And yeah, I mean, I'm probably a horrible parent for bringing a 7-year-old to Avengers Endgame, but I had to say that we went and saw it in theaters together. But anyways, good stuff there.
He'll look back and he'll say it was awesome time, so it's good.
I hope so. So I did mention it with episode 27 here. We are going to be eventually talking about Falcon from Captain America Civil War. We're doing another little retro review of our Hot Toys. I guess in the past we've kind of considered it an audio review if this video thing goes over well. I know we probably will be able to do some screen shares. I've got Mr. Sam Wilson here on my desk. Very looking forward to that. And guys, let's just as Chris has his going. I have yet to install the wings. I've had mine on my DTOF in
Chris
my little
is taunting us in the video for those listening to the audio version.
Yeah.
Just a little flyby action, that's all.
All right, guys, let's switch over to news. And TC, I'll kick it over to you first. I think the news is there is no real big news. I think it's a little bit of kind of post-convention hangover. I mean, we had San Diego Comic-Con, we had ACGHK, and I mean, we did. I mean, as Hot Toy collectors, we want more. We always want new releases. I love waking up in the morning and there's Hot Toys posts on their official Facebook account saying what's going to be coming up. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, if we woke up every single day of the year and there was something new for Hot Toys, I think our bank accounts and budget probably wouldn't like that much. So it becomes more of an event when there is some news. But, outside of some things releasing in Hong Kong and some stuff coming up, I mean, I guess that's Chris, I was trying to think back when we first started the podcast and I felt like there was a similar kind of lull. I mean, it goes without saying that as soon as we drop this podcast episode, there'll be some new releases. It tends to happen. It did the last time. We've talked about it on multiple assembles. That's why we're not going to go way back to, there's like Yoda released and Dooku and some of that other stuff. But TC, what are we really making of this?
I just think it's Hot Toys not taking a break, but they put so much into these conventions, ACGHK and SDCC, that they put everything into it, and I think they're just kind of just waiting to reveal. I guess they have a plan. They know how the movies are kind of aligned the next couple of years. I think they're going to play the slow game with some of these Endgame figures, and we're just kind of in a wait and see mode right now. So I don't think anything big other than just kind of taking it slow.
Yeah, I guess they're just spacing out the pre-order releases. I mean, that's kind of what it just seems. I mean, they dropped 4 in one day.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have spread that out and it would have, but
that was a fun day though. That was a fun
it was. Oh, it was awesome.
Well, there was so much at SDCC and ACGHK that hasn't been put up for pre-order yet. So I think maybe they're just trying to figure out the timeline, when to slot in these pre-orders and kind of get their production schedule aligned. That would just be my guess.
Oh yeah, I think that's it. They're getting logistics squared away, and I mean, there's just so many other figures to release this year. I mean, we've got a major amount of figures that still need to be released.
Wasp, Ant-Man, those haven't been released yet. You got Bucky, Mark 7.
Yeah.
Just some of the Marvel stuff. Gamora that has not been released yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a backlog. So I think maybe hopefully we'll just get some release final images from Hong Kong soon.
Yeah. And I mean, we did get a release since our last podcast. TC, what was that?
What was that? Is it? It was yeah.
Shuri.
Sorry, Shuri. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that. Yeah, Shuri was released, and it's a great figure. I think there's some complaints about the height of the figure that I was not aware of on the assemble. So when I hosted the assemble, we had looked at all the pictures and it looked awesome, and I didn't notice it, but some people are saying she's too short because the height of the actress. You know, she's kind of pretty close to Chadwick Boseman. So. Some collectors are quite picky on that. Others don't care. I did not pick up on that, and usually I'm pretty particular. So
I missed that. I missed that particular point. So I'll have to go, check out some of the reviews and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I know you guys gave me grief on the assemble of, is it third time's a charm for that? Man, it does look pretty good. I mean, I haven't had my opportunity to to chime in on it yet. I was a little sad that I did let it go because it does look so good. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'm really trying to be good. As we'll talk about in a little bit with the collection update, it's probably one of the most vanilla collection updates the three of us have ever had. And I think it's important to not everyone's going to be super exciting. But I mean, as we try to be transparent, as we try to show, what's going on with our budgets and stuff, like none of the three of us can just swing getting multiple pre-orders every single episode here.
No. And like you said, collection updates can be pretty light, but it's not a bad thing. It's just the ups and downs of collecting. Kind of intensity kind of goes up and down as the days go by. But anyway, before we go on from Shuri, I do want to bring up one thing. What do you guys think about the arms on that figure? Do you remember, was she in any scenes where she had her arms covered up? Because if that were the case, I would have preferred Hot Toys to take one of those costumes because it is difficult to pose that figure. You could even see the promos. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I mean she is in a couple other outfits, but they're not, her battle armor.
Right.
So there is that T'Challa that's been teased in his kind of like ceremonial casual outfit. I don't really know what it is. The one with him on the throne. I mean, I can see that figure being made, but I would never see Shuri in a different outfit. It's
one of those things that I guess you just have to take the negative with the positives.
Yeah, it's going to be it might be a sticking point for some collectors, with posability and that sort of thing, but it's kind of her most badass looking, costume in the movie. And it's also in Endgame too. So it's like, it's a tough one. I would say, we talked about maybe her getting another figure down the line with Black Panther 2. So maybe she gets a costume update. So maybe we see something different, in a few years, but I don't know. I'm not a stickler for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty accepting of, the figure construction and that sort of thing. Hot Toys is not perfect, and they've got to come up with, a technique that works for mass production and for usability and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm pretty easygoing with it. So.
I used to be a little bit more of a stickler. I'm not as much so anymore. It's because like you said, it's just tough because their whole thing is realism. So I've kind of gotten past the point of, why don't they include like a jointed arm, a plastic arm? Well, that's not really their business model. It never was. And they've gotten so good at what they do that it just would make it even more odd if they were to go back to that kind of thing. So anyway.
Sure thing.
So guys, let's switch gears from Shuri. We'll talk about TC, the Neon Tech Iron Man 2.0. I've got it up on the screen here. And TC, what's kind of the scoop with this one? Because I know this is one that was only available at SDCC, and they did something a little bit different with this one that they're never going to please everybody, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, this was supposed to be a SDCC exclusive, I guess Toy Fair exclusive, because it goes out. It's going to be available in Hong Kong always. They're not going to ever restrict an Iron Man release from Hong Kong. So ACGHK, it's available. It was available at SDCC. You had to be at the convention to pick it up, and that's what Sideshow told all the collectors. You must be there. You must have your ID. Pick it up there. You get it for $380, and then you have to transport it home. Well, lo and behold, a month later or several weeks later, it's now on the site. And this was kind of what I kind of got a little bit annoyed. I know before the convention, I said, I'm probably going to sell my 1.0 because the 2.0 I couldn't get. And the whole process of acquiring the 1.0 was a hassle in itself. And then the 2.0 was thought to be even more restrictive. But it would just be nice if Sideshow or Hot Toys would just say, okay, you can pick it up at the convention, but it's going to be also available online after. I don't understand why they want to go back and forth and say, oh, you can pick it up here, and that's all we have. And then when it's sold out, it's sold out. And then collectors go on eBay and they pay $200 more just for the same figure because they think it's gone. And then you have people on different boards. They say, well, these collectors, they get what's coming. They're allowing the scalpers to run the collection, blah, blah, blah. You know, they're succumbing to the scalpers. But what do you do when that's all you're told by all the companies involved, that's it? Do you just not want to try and get it? So that's what I had a problem with. I never went on eBay, and I just decided to pre-order it on Sideshow because I do like the design, and I do like the 1.0 design. And since it's available, it's attainable. So it's kind of where I stand on it. Not happy with the process, but the figure itself I do like.
Yeah, I mean, it does look cool. I mean, it's kind of like got that Pittsburgh Steelers vibe going on if you're an NFL fan.
It does. It does. Pittsburgh Steelers down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of the black and yellow, terrible towels kind of thing going.
I know Milo was excited about it.
I'm waiting for the red and black one. Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not much of a college football fan. I mean, we don't have much of a team up in Northeast here, but I definitely get it where it's definitely college football country, down in Atlanta and stuff. So very cool stuff. So guys, I know both of you guys have gotten the shipping notices for the Spider-Man Advanced Suit. I know we've kind of talked a little bit about where that one went on waitlist and then it was available again. So, I mean, you guys are probably going to have that. Obviously, you don't have it in hand at the time of this recording, but pretty soon here?
Yeah, I'm getting mine Tuesday. Should be arriving, and pretty excited. Haven't gotten a Hot Toys figure, a new pre-order in a while. So, yeah, we'll. I don't know. We're discussing that potentially being the next feature figure review. We'll see how things play out. But from everybody's reviews, PJ's and Justin and everybody else, it looks like an awesome figure. I mean, Allie had some crazy images that she posted on the group with some stylized poses. I'm like, I can't pull that stuff off with my iPhone. But
yeah, it's kind of like a behind the back shot with a web shooter. Yeah, that was Allie did a great job.
Coming down from above or whatever, and so great figure for photography. All kinds of awesome accessories. Yeah, I'm looking for that. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it looks like an awesome figure. Like you said, Allie's pictures are really, really sweet. I actually didn't get a notice yet. I didn't opt to process early. I noticed others were getting their notifications, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up processing it now. But I don't hopefully Sideshow will get back to me. And hopefully they still have some in stock, because I initially did pass on that, but I think I'm going to end up going for it. So hopefully I can keep you guys posted on that in the near future. But
Yeah,
we get that in soon.
Yeah, if you do, I mean, we've got a few weeks. I mean, obviously, as long as Chris has it in hand, we'll probably do it as the next feature figure review, just because we've been doing a lot of retro reviews. Chris, you said it. I mean, like, I posted it in our private Facebook group. I'm like, that famous like kid there waiting by the window, like just kind of tap his hand. It's like when my last figure came in, but I'm so trying to be good, guys, about sticking to the process. This has probably been one of the longer stretches I've had where I've really kind of stuck to my guns, and it takes a lot of willpower. I feel like it's going to be a lot better, a lot of better in the long run. I can't say that I haven't still been doing like just some random eBay searches and stuff. Like somebody got talking about somebody got talking about the Hot Toys, Tron cycle. I think it might have been Ryan in the group, and I happen to look. I'm like, it's a little pricey. It's an older figure. I don't think that's going to happen. I just was in Walt Disney World a couple weeks ago, and seeing them build that new Tron coaster, it does look cool. But it's hard. But Chris, I totally get it. I'm kind of a little jealous you got a figure soon. You've actually been pulling things off the shelf behind you there, kind of unboxing figures you've had for a while. They're new to you. Yeah,
there's still some figures up here that this one in particular is still sealed. That one's still sealed. So I've got some stuff. Coulson down here, he's still sealed. So, I got some stuff to play with still, and I'm just happy to at least have something behind me other than junk and
the root cellar, the Starbucks root cellar.
Yeah, that's right.
I think what's helped me is when I go on to eBay and I search for the following figures: Captain America battling Civil War, the Civil War Mark 46, the Homecoming Mark 47. They're just all so expensive that I just don't even really consider buying them. So that's helped me, but I will still search for them just in case some chum lists it for close to retail.
Hey man, we're scavengers for a reason. This guy over here, he's finding
Hollywood Squares. Like, which one are you? Like, I got to point down at TC. I got to point to my.
I know. I'm like opposite.
We'll get the hang of this at some point. Yeah. I think it all depends on what order you guys join the stream here too, on which if you'll be on in the triangle here. At least it is a trio, like a triangle. Mm-hmm. TC, do you have? I know. Next, I wanted to briefly talk about. I know Steve found on another group, Hot Toy Collectors. I think there was a poster circulating around for the annual exhibition that they're going to have in Taiwan, August 31st to September 8th. I feel like I've seen it recently. It may have even been, I feel like I saw it like over a month ago or more, because it kind of made the rounds, but it's now popped up again on Instagram. So what's sold is new again. But guys, there's a couple interesting things that originally caught my eye that are now catching my eye again. And TC, I know you've mentioned you have kind of an affinity for the Quantum Suit releases, whether they took the Tony Stark one and the Cap one and just popped a head sculpt on the top of those, if they're really going to do them or not, but at least gives us, Chris, the premise that we may get it. The other thing that's on there too is we keep seeing those, Endgame / Infinity War Falcon and Scarlet Witch. I mean, Chris, we've got Falcon on our desk here from Civil War. I can't see how they're really going to do that much different with another release, but whether it's a reissue or not, I mean, to me, the costume looks very similar. The Scarlet Witch, I think, would be a different hairstyle, but I think they could probably get away with doing the same jacket, pant combination that figure has. It's a really good figure. As most of our listeners know, a few episodes ago, I sold mine to Steve, and it's now has a good home as I kind of just paring down a collection a little bit. It wasn't that I thought there was going to be another version here of Scarlet Witch, but we'll see. I mean, definitely look. I mean, the artwork here is awesome. I don't know if you guys think any differently, but the fact that this is a Avengers Endgame movie poster that's essentially with just their figures. It's not even photographs.
I want it. How do we get that? How do we get that poster?
Oh yeah, I don't know. You got to look on eBay.
Yeah,
international sellers.
Yeah, you guys probably can't see it here in the stream, especially where we're sharing TC's monitor here. But Steve was able to get me the Infinity War one. He shipped that out to me. I've got it kind of in a frame up above me here. But they did a whole Infinity War spread with just the figures. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's a nice. It would be a nice addition to to display a collection or whatever. But it is kind of crazy that they're able to pull that scene off. I mean, you've got pretty much everybody, every key character in there. I mean, they might be. Do you see? Oh no, there she is. I was just looking for Rescue. No, there's just so many figures on there that I have on pre-order that I hope they make. Those quantum suit figures are, those are what is really sticking out at me. I'm still on the fence on whether or not I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. I've got Tony Stark on pre-order. I keep going back and forth. I'm going to keep that pre-order, intact for a while, but there's at least Scarlet Johansson, Black Widow. That's at least one that I'm probably gonna go for if they produce it. But I don't know, an Ant-Man quantum suit. I don't know how well that would sell. Nebula.
That's like the worst thing. Like if they produce, say, like 4 of them, I wouldn't want that. I would just want the Tony and maybe the Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
If they make the whole team, then to me, I might actually consider, okay, well, instead of getting the regular Hulk, maybe I get the Hulk and the quantum suit, or instead of the regular War Machine, I go with the War Machine and the quantum suit. Just things like that. And I already had Black Widow in pre-order, but I would double up on that. But a figure like Nebula would be another one where maybe instead of getting the regular figure, I would opt for that one just to have a uniform, like a uniform display with the other characters. But I don't know. It's tough because I don't think they're going to release them all in bunches. It's going to be spread out. So it's a risk. Like I don't want to buy Nebula one and then they don't make all the other figures. Then I'll end up probably just selling it because I just don't have a place for it. I like the team or a couple of the A-list characters,
yeah.
But that's pretty much it. But
I think the one thing that surprised me here, out of all the figures we've already seen, and for the most part, I mean, there's some newer ones on here. Guys, I'm honestly surprised we haven't seen Captain Marvel in her Endgame outfit yet, because it's almost inverse of the one that she has in her solo film. It's mostly red with some blue, whereas
and
shorter hair, obviously. It's only a matter of time before that one comes.
You think? You think?
I do think we get that figure, guys. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm still on the fence if we ever get the Vares version with Star Force. I think we'll get it. I feel like we need the Endgame version.
Yeah, the reason why I would say we're not going to get it is because by now they probably see the pre-order count. They have a good idea of what's been pre-ordered. And do they feel that the market will support another release of Captain Marvel? If they haven't released it yet, my whole thing is they're saying, no, this one version will satisfy. It can substitute in for Endgame. That's my thought on it. But, I mean, I don't think we're done, obviously, with Endgame figures, like you said. So,
yeah, maybe after Captain Marvel releases,
right.
Maybe then we'll see another version, in maybe the next, after it releases, maybe 3 to 4 months after that. I don't know. But right now there's like 10 War Machines. So it's like, you just never know.
Marvel Endgame version at any of the cons. So is it even on their radar? I don't know.
I guess we'll find out how well, when the Captain Marvel release comes out, how well received that is, what the reviews are, what the buzz is. I feel like a lot of collectors I've talked to have that one. I know there's not many of us out there that are like me that I've kept both. I sometimes try to talk myself out of one of them, but I really do want to display one with the helmet, one without. And
I tried to get both.
Yeah, you did for like what, $5 or $20?
Yeah, it was $20.
But then that also allows me to, if I have an extra head sculpt, to potentially do like a 9 Inch Nails, Kit Bash figure of that as well. But I don't know. I'm kind of, unless Super MC Toys does like a Carol Danvers Kit Bash. I don't know. We'll see. I really love the nano suit Tony Stark kit so much that's kind of like the benchmark. And if anything comes in below that, it's going to be tough.
It's interesting you say Super MC Toys. I mean, we haven't seen anything new from them.
They're pretty selective. If you look back at their releases, it's very sporadic. And it seems like it's where they look and see where there's a point where they could come into the market and do something that is filling a semi-high demand role. If you look back, Chris, I know you've got the Black Widow suit that she wore in Civil War, a couple of the other ones they've done. It kind of fills in those things where people would want it, but I don't know. I know we're kind of getting on the side tangent here about a third-party accessory thing, guy. But I mean, that's where we are with the news.
Real quick, Brian, before we go on, I have a question for you guys. So in the end game, I don't believe War Machine in the Quantum suit wore that helmet, did he? I thought it was just unmasked, and then the next time you saw him in the masked suit was when he was in the regular suit with Nebula. I don't remember that.
I'll have to go back and
when they're going through the quantum realm.
He had it on?
I think so.
Okay.
I think he did.
Because the Iron Patriot's got the unmasked sculpt, but I don't remember seeing him unmasked.
He did. He was.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So I've already started seeing, I've been looking online. I don't have the release yet, but I know like the Russo brothers and Marcus McFeely are talking about like sometimes there's been some things that they would have loved to show more in the film, but it just would have kept going on and on and on. And I guess people have been trying to figure out like how Rhodey actually got into the Iron Patriot suit. And somebody said, if you look in the background of when he kind of ejects himself from his other, I guess it's going to be like the Mark 6 armor. Yeah. Who knows what the Mark 5 is? Maybe the Iron Patriot is the Mark 5. But you can look in the background and you can kind of see the Iron Patriot suit there. So that's how he kind of gets in, and that's how he comes out of the rubble like that. We'll see. I still can't wait for that figure. I want to watch Endgame multiple times here. I want to go back and do the rewatch, and it's going to be nuts. So guys, that is the news. Very good question there, TC. And we are at the point of the podcast where we're talking collection update. Not to spoil anything, but this is going to be pretty vanilla. Chris, my friend, I'll kick it over to you first. What have you got lately?
All right. So we talked about the advanced suit Spider-Man. So that's on its way. Okay. Couple different, we talk about third-party stuff. I did get the Toys Era Steel 2.0, the Colossus. So I got it from Toy Origin. Paul up there in Canada. He was so I got it way, way late. And Toy Origin was saying for them to be competitive with pricing, they kind of have to go the long game with the shipping and all that stuff. And I mean, I did get it for a good price compared to other retailers, but and they were very transparent about everything and staying on top of, communication. But as far as the figure goes, I'm glad to have it. It's going to look great with Deadpool, but there are some condition issues. The silver skin definitely had some areas of concern around the neck, the elbows. I don't know. I'm not super picky, so it doesn't really bother me that much, but I can see where some people would be like, no, like this is unacceptable. Some of the pants and stuff compared to the Steel 1.0, maybe the 1.0 looks a little bit cooler, but it's a big figure, heavy. Head sculpts are great. So, but I don't know. Some of the joints in the legs are a little bit loose, and I don't know how it's going to last long term. So I'm going to have to come up with something once I get them displayed. So Steel 2.0.
You can glue some popsicle sticks in the back.
Probably. I'll just do whatever it takes, man. So that was one thing, and then going in another route. It's 1/6 scale, but it's actually the Gentle Giant Ahsoka Tano mini bust, and I had to reference this because she's one of my favorite characters in anything, and Gentle Giant completely knocked it out of the park with this sculpt. There's no way they could do better. It's all hand painted. They did a limited edition of 750. And the one thing that I wish is it was full scale. It was not a mini bust. It kind of gives you a glimpse as to what a Hot Toys 6 scale Ahsoka could look like. It's got a more realistic style, and it's in her Rebels attire. I just and so I don't know statues. I kind of watched some of sorry, my cat is walking all around here. Watched some of PJ's reviews of his statues and stuff like that, but the weight of the mini bust, I thought it was vinyl, honestly, but it's not, and just I can't speak any more highly of it. It's just, I'm glad that I got in, and this guy over here texted me while I was on the road for work and pull over and jumped on that pre-order last year. And I'm glad I got it because it sold out in like an hour or something like that. And there's a lot of people right now wishing they got it. And I guess like they're selling for 2.5, almost 3 times retail.
Wow.
It's crazy. So Chris, what's is it Gentle Giant? Do they distribute it? Because I was looking at the bottom.
It's Diamond Select.
Diamond Select. So,
yeah, Diamond Select.
They just bought them out recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that.
Yeah, so they're they're the distributor, but I don't really know how. I think things got restructured with Gentle Giant to some degree. They had a pretty good presence at Celebration. Lots of stuff on display. The Hera Syndulla mini bust looked awesome. It was very tempting, but again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not really into statues, but this is the closest I'm going to get to a 6 scale Ahsoka figure, at least anytime soon. So that's pretty much it for me. TC, what about you, man?
Yeah, I had one thing. I pre-ordered the Iron Man Neon Tech 2.0, the Mark 6, and I told myself I was not going to get it, that I was just going to keep the 1.0 and not track down the 2.0 on eBay. And lo and behold, Sideshow ended up getting it, and it's still, I think, up for pre-order. So if you want that figure, you can still get it. It's slated for a September to November release, and I'm looking forward to that. But that's all I have.
Did you do a payment plan on that or one time?
No, that one, I'm doing a one-time payment. Sometimes, like with the payment plans and stuff, I'll like to buy myself more time. I might set up a payment plan, but then if it gets delayed a little bit, I then might take it off the payment plan and then just go with the one-time payment. It just depends. But for this one, I'm just going to do regular because it fits in with that time.
JT is disapproving of you.
Oh. Hey, you got to get creative. You got to just be creative.
Chris knows this image too well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. No, I'm right there with you. A lot of my stuff is on payment plan, but I will shift things around, delay things, drop from payment plan to push things back, and then just kind of wait and see how things play out, and jump back on the payment plan if the finances deem so. But anyway,
unfortunately on that one, it's kind of slated to match the Mark 7 release, which is a little bit concerning, but we will see. Hopefully the Mark 7 either gets released a little bit before or after, like maybe a month and a half after, something like that. So we'll see, but looking forward to it. That's
all kidding aside, I'm glad that you were able to get it, and I'm only giving you grief because I know you were thinking about selling the 1.0 and now going from selling a figure to now keeping it and
and it's
buying
just hard.
another.
I can't really get myself to actually list a diecast figure.
It's so hard. Like I've gotten away from. Of course, as I'm about to give my update, but there's a lot of figures that I'd canceled last episode that I probably could have bought myself and sold. I just don't, unless I'm gonna sell it in our group, and people in our group, we've been around for 27 episodes. We've been around a year. You see us on the Assemble. We're pretty transparent. I think people that I think we're fairly trustworthy. I'd rather do that and just get sell a figure for not necessarily at a loss, but maybe what I paid for it, and not have to deal with that hassle and know it's somebody that is probably a listener or one of you guys or something like that, than trying to go through eBay or all that other. You just see on some of the other groups, it's such a hassle that I'm just not sure. Even if you can turn a small profit, I'm not even sure it's worth the hassle.
This one's also, the 1.0 is a little bit of there's an issue. Because it's how it's finished, the paint's really glossy. Mine did come with a scuff on the foot, and then a tiny one kind of like in the groin area. I don't really want to sell that because some collectors probably don't care, but I don't want to be like,
somebody might care.
Every little thing with that figure, because overall it's amazing. It's pretty striking, but there are a couple issues with it. I wouldn't say it's major quality control, but it's not perfect like some of the other ones I have. It's not just 100% perfect. So I don't really want to deal with that, especially when you're talking that kind of price. If it was $200, it's one thing, but if you're looking to get 400 plus, it's a little bit different story. And I just don't really feel like dealing with it right now. If I want to sell something, there are other figures I can sell.
Absolutely. So I had two things. Speaking of selling, I went through my collection. I ended up selling. I had both Black Panthers. I ended up selling to Eric and our group on Facebook. I sold him my Civil War Black Panther. Both of them, I just kind of preferred the newer one version a little bit more. I know a lot of collectors still prefer the Civil War version just because of the muscular physique of the figure. So I'm pretty sure I took a loss on that one. But I know Eric got a really good figure. I know he displayed that on the group, and happy to obviously help out a fellow scavenger. And then I'm sure Steve's going to give me grief for this, but at least I did not take a NRD hit on this one. I did end up, the day that the Mini Hall of Armor went up for pre-order, I did get it, and it looked pretty cool. You guys, we were looking, and somebody had it in hand yesterday. We all saw it on Facebook, and I don't think I could have canceled my pre-order fast enough. I did not realize how small it is. I'm gonna hold up my thumb. My thumb is bigger than they showed the Mark 1, and obviously it's still detailed. But if I'm looking at that, and that's gonna be, and then I'm holding it up, they had it all in display, kind of in a half moon shape, and then they had the Mark 47 and another figure in front of it. And it just looks so small. It barely came up to the shins of a Hot Toys figure. And I guess it's seeing it in that scale. It just made me realize for the price, I just couldn't justify it. I would rather spend that on another figure. Heck, I would rather spend that money and go out and get all the the 4K Marvel movies coming out pretty soon here than do that.
Yeah, it's too bad. I have a feeling that one. I mean, I have this feeling that set is going to be a dud.
I don't know if necessarily it died. Like, I know I've been talking a lot to Lotus, and he's been humming and hawing about it. He obviously wishes it was a larger scale because it kind of combines everything together. Quick shout out to him. I know he gave us a shout out on his podcast, Open Your Toys, and really appreciated that. Obviously, I had an opportunity to meet Lotus in person a few weeks ago at Disney World, and fantastic fellow collector, and brings so much knowledge with him. He even referenced it on his own podcast. He's like the one of the OG collectors because he just has he's been around and collecting for quite a while, and he doesn't even really collect Hot Toys anymore. So I think he kind of lives vicariously through all of us newbies making mistakes left and right, but obviously also appreciate the feedback. I know I had reached out to him in a private message, and I ended up turning it into a post that we had on our group. And he's just a great resource. And if you haven't checked out his podcast, it's Open Your Toys. I think they cover what, Chris? Masters Universe, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, and Transformers.
Yes.
I mean, if you're gonna have a big four, that's a heck of a big four to have.
Oh yeah, it's a fun podcast. I really enjoy it. I mean, I don't even really collect. I mean, I just collect vintage Star Wars compared to what they talk about, but I love all that stuff. I had it all as a kid, and it's tempting. Some of the stuff they talk about, especially the vintage G.I. Joes, man. I'm like looking at their posts on their group because they've got a group for the podcast listeners as well. And I don't know, one of the hosts, Rock, he found this crazy collection, vintage carded G.I. Joe figures. I don't know. They talk about a lot of cool stuff, and it is not safe for work. So just be prepared.
Yeah,
80% is fine.
Yeah,
or 90%. Then they'll stick in a few F-bombs or whatever.
This is like the PG podcast where most of us are keeping it clean just because, you never know. I mean, some people like to listen in the car. Some people listen at their desk at work. You never know who's within an earshot. So we try to keep it nice and clean here. So TC, I guess speaking of clean here, this is what we call in the business a little bit of a transition. So we wanted to change things up, and why I'm super glad, TC, to have you on the podcast, because you kind of are offering some fresh ideas. Chris and I were probably running out of them at this point, but we get questions from time to time. I mean, we probably talk about our Facebook group probably a little bit too much because we know that there's other listeners and there's a whole bunch of ways that people tune in. I mean, we have people that are on YouTube or Spotify. We have our website, sixscalescavengers.com, and there's an email address. You can click on the contact us page, and we'll sometimes get emails from time to time. I know a couple times we've been reached out to Michael, and obviously has some good questions and stuff. So when we get contacted by like that manner, it kind of gives us some topics and stuff to talk about. So obviously we don't have them up here on the screen, but wanted to just kind of cover a few of them. And hopefully what this also does too, going forward, whether you give us a Facebook message or an email, Chris, I know you and I are trying to be a little bit more proactive with our Instagram account, trying to get out there, and you've been practicing your photography skills and using all those little filters and stuff, doing all this like crazy psychedelic edits and
I don't know. I'm just messing around, man. It's fun. It's just nothing, just messing around with the iPhone and that sort of thing. But just want to try to get out some more images on Instagram and just more stuff for people to look at. And hopefully, as things go forward, we'll just try to post things on the website and in the group, on our Facebook, our main Facebook page and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to put stuff out there for our followers and listeners and that sort of thing.
All right, TC, what do we want to cover for a couple quick topics?
Okay, well, the flavor of the episode we'll do a couple of them. The flavor of the episode seems to be Neon Tech Iron Man. So I know I've talked about it, but what are your guys' thoughts on the releases so far? I know you guys don't have them, and I don't think you're planning on getting them, but just some general thoughts about the releases, why it may or may not fit in your collections, that kind of thing. But we'll lead it off with Bryan.
So obviously, I'm the resident full Iron Man diecast collector out of the three of us. I've tried to track down everything of the ones that have already been released. The only one I'm waiting for is the 43 reissue. So everything else that's the base releases that have made it into a movie, I do have in my collection. I have been tempted by the diecast Neon Tech ones a little bit. The only way I'm rationalizing it, a couple different things. Number one, I don't think I could swing it in my budget. Number two, like if it's not on screen or it's not like a concept where it's, at least for the concept art Iron Man and the concept art Cap, at least it was in the concept art book. I've got that on my shelf over here. I know we were talking to a couple people. I think Christopher in our group, we were talking to him the other day about, the art of books and collectibles and stuff. So I'm okay with that. I don't know. Like, I feel like TC, you've got the right approach. There's only been two. You're going to have both. It's going to be one of those things as it goes forward. I have a feeling they'll probably, if I had my guess, they're going to probably take most of the major releases and try to reissue them in the Neon Tech version. So, the 1.0 was the Mark IV. TC, the 2.0 is the Mark VI. And I know a lot of people missed the Mark VI. It was out at a time when it wasn't really, the 6, the 46, a couple of those were all out at the same time. And it sat on Sideshow for a while. And then all of a sudden they sold out. And now it's commanding quite a heavy price on the secondary market, just like a lot of the other ones are. I feel like it gets you a chance to get that armor if you missed it, but obviously it's not going to look like it did in the film. I think there's a space for it, but I don't know. I think it's more of like, I'll just use Mila as an example, like with the black and yellow 2.0, is like a colors of a favorite football team. Obviously it's not branded with the Steelers or anything like that, but like that can be, Chris, like a way that you can kind of have a little bit of more of a connection to something that's kind of, and people, they're complaining, oh, another Iron Man figure, just like, let's paint it differently. Let's release it, get more money.
That is one way to look at it. But it's strategic. It's Hot Toys knowing that people love these unique looks and it's a great way to put out another version of that particular suit. So, people can look at it like Steelers colors or, whatever, Penguins colors or something. It's kind of one of those things that it can represent your team if they so happen to have those colors. So it's just, for me, I think they look cool and all. I've never seen them in person, so it's tough to say, first-hand experience, but they look cool. But for me, I've never had the desire to go after them. Honestly, it's just not clicked for me. I haven't really, got the itch to jump on one.
I think, and I can totally understand that because they're not canon. They're the Mark VI Neon, the Mark IV Neon Tech. They're not going to substitute for a Mark IV or a Mark VI that you see in the theater, that you see in the movies. Mm-hmm. But what they are is almost like time-stamped. They're convention exclusives. They're time-stamped figures that if you get the Stan Lee figure or if you get the Scarlet Spider, you can pair them up and you can have a nice display of, this is the 2019 exclusives. They fit in differently. They're just unique. There's no, I guess some people say it's modeled after Tron, but it's just a creative, I guess, a creative way to create the Iron Man figures, just an artistic interpretation. And they have their place, but they're just unique items. They're not really I don't really know what to say. They're just kind of they're for diehard Iron Man fans, and they just look really cool. The aesthetics are there, so that's why I personally like them. I like being able to fit them into other exclusives because to me that's how they best fit. They align with the time-stamped exclusives like Stan Lee and like your Scarlet Spider, or last year like your Captain America concept. So that's why I do enjoy them.
No, I mean, it makes total sense. We potentially have a War Machine Neon Tech coming down the line at some point with I think it was orange accents.
Yeah.
So that's at least anybody that's trying to, they really like that aesthetic, they can continue to go down that line, and I can see it happening.
I could see the Mark V also getting like Bryan suggested, I think they might all get, the neon treatment, but I think the next one might be the Mark V. It's been out, it's been released for a couple of years now, and the secondary market's really high. So it's another way to give collectors who, you can't substitute the Mark V with it, but it's a way that you can have the same mold. And I know that's, it's important for me to have at least a mold of each die-cast figure. So I can see why some collectors will want to jump on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they do a Mark V, I think that one's probably going to be, a pretty big hit as far as, these Neon Tech figures go.
Just the engineering on that one is just incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
I think all three of us have it. I still have yet to really fit, take photos of it, really mess it around. It's almost in a pretty much the pose I set it up on when I took it out of the box. There's so much potential with that one. It's so good. And I agree, TC, I think that one would do really well.
Maybe next year.
Maybe. Some people say the Mark 7, but they haven't even released the Mark 7 yet in regular diecast form. So I'm thinking it would be something more like the 5. Plus everything's been branded, I believe, Iron Man 2 so far. So we'll see if they
that would allow them to kind of keep it if they do the 5, because obviously that's still Iron Man 2. Although the 6 was in Iron Man 2 and
it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Which is funny because I think the Mark 6, they actually marketed it as from being Avengers, even though it was Iron Man 2. I don't know, the things that we know as just huge nerds and Iron Man collectors. So TC, any other questions you want to touch on briefly?
Yeah, one more is how we clean our figures. I know this comes up, it comes up on the boards or it comes up in the Facebook groups. How do you keep your figures away from dust, or just how do you, keep them clean? And
you could use the Roy and Chris approach and just leave
you just
them in the
stash
box.
them in boxes. Yeah. That's one way to do it.
Just never open them.
Don't open them. Mint and sealed box.
That's right.
But I think what I do is I have my figures out on an open shelf. You can see them behind me. And I have a top shelf that you can't see. That one's full. It's just you can't see in the picture. But it's all open. There's no glass. And I don't know how the differences between wood and glass, how they attract dust, but I will periodically every month or so just check and see if there's just like a dust buildup on the shelves, and usually it's pretty good. If there is, I'll wipe it up because the dust tends to collect there first before they kind of latch onto the figure. So I make sure that where the figures stand on, it's clean. And I do also I haven't used it yet because this room that I'm in right now, there's not much foot traffic, so there's not much dust, and I tend to keep it relatively clean, just like the rest of the house. So but I do have a brush, like a paint brush, where if I needed to kind of get some dust off, it's a very soft bristle, and I could just kind of do like a spot treatment. And I know some people also use the spray canisters with air.
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah, I don't use it because my figures they don't seem to be collecting dust, and at least that I can't see, and I look at them pretty closely. But I think keeping your shelves clean at the very minimum, where your figures reside, if the shelves are clean, it's going to take a lot more dust to affect them. If you just let the dust build over time, then that's where you can kind of get in a little bit of a problem. Then you don't want too much to stick to the figure.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't go crazy about it. I know some collectors do, but I haven't had much of an issue.
Yeah, and I use the Detox. They do. I don't have them dust proofed, so they do collect some little dust. I mean, they get around in the corners. From time to time, you can see a little bit of like specks and stuff like that. As you were saying that, TC, I know Roy, probably 6 months ago plus in our group, he showed like his setup, and he had like a soft makeup brush and one of those air canisters and just little things that you can do for some fine detail work. I think it'd be easier to probably clean off a diecast figure if it was dusty and you do have yours out. I think it's the cloth material that I think would probably be more apt to like a cape on Thor or the cape on Doctor Strange. We're just kind of looking around different things where you'd probably have to do a little bit more detail work if you did have it open. But I think all of us, I mean, we are scavengers. These things aren't cheap, and I think we all treat them really well regardless of how you have them displayed. I think one of the things that makes us all really unique is we all collect different things. We all display them differently. We all have different care that we have for them. So if I had one way to say how we clean them, it all just, I guess the answer would be, it depends. It depends on your setup, your home, do you have pets or any of that other stuff that you would be a little concerned of that. But regardless of whatever your setup, just know it well. I think all of us, I mean, outside of Chris, I know you're still eagerly awaiting for your collecting room to get set up and get to going to set those all up. I think just knowing your environment, I think, is key. Whether you have temperature controlled or using glass or shelves like TC is, I think just know that and know what you might need to do to keep them looking pristine and clean.
Yeah, some of the biggest things are, I mean, most Hot Toys collectors know, but like sunlight, you don't want direct sunlight, humidity, extreme temperatures one way or the other, all this stuff, infrequent ambient temperature, like all that stuff can really affect these figures. And you just want to kind of keep an even temperature,
status quo, essentially.
Yeah. Dehumidifier and all that stuff. If you are in a humid climate, I know a lot of people that are in a humid climate, that really does affect, especially the some of the pleather materials and that sort of thing. So, again, Allie, she's given us some really good tips on some of the assemble episodes, the figures with silicone arms, exposed body parts and stuff like that. You gotta really do some research and figure out how to keep that stuff from cracking and getting brittle. And it's just there's techniques for cleaning for all this stuff, and just do some research and find some stuff that works for your situation.
Yeah, I mean, heck, even this past week, I know I mentioned reaching out to Lotus. I reached out to Zach from Collecting Weekly as well. I was seeing this weird, like, white buildup on the rubberized hands of some of my Iron Man figures, and I just, like, I had, lump in my throat. I'm like, I have it pretty even temperature throughout the year. It's behind glass. I'm not out there using them a ton, but TC, you were saying too, like the clear coat material deteriorates a little bit over time. You really almost want to go with the plastic hands, because you're not going to have that, the clear coat over the paint and the rubberized hands for the closed fists and stuff. And then I keep thinking, I know we mentioned it when we reviewed the Markel, a couple episodes ago, and he's got the flailed fingers, and I'm like, I don't really want to display it with that. I'm like, maybe I need to get that accessory set so I have, don't have to worry about that. There's just different things that you kind of have to, just keep an eye out And I think ultimately we all want to do the same thing. It's really take care of our figures.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up. That's always been kind of disappointing for me, the hand issue with the Iron Man, because it's coming, because I know from what I've read in the past that obviously the well-known pink panty issue where the hip area from Iron Man, I believe, was the Mark IV, the Mark VI in the past, it was rubber, and because of that, it faded with time. They've since changed that to plastic. The hands should be plastic. The only thing I can think of them not doing that is it's a more difficult process to manufacture. Maybe instead of one-piece hand, it becomes a two-piece hand, because if you look at the articulated hands of any Iron Man figure, inside they have to line the plastic with rubber, because you can't be trying to attach plastic on plastic, the wrist joint to the hand. So it's a more complex process, I'm guessing. And maybe the mold is more expensive, I don't know. But it's a kind of a shame, because you only get one set of the articulated hands. Every other hand pair in each Iron Man release is a rubberized hand. So you're going to potentially see fading. And I don't know if that is just every figure will see that, or if it's a certain batch. We'll see.
When I saw it on my 47, I was like, oh.
I know that hurts, because it's the most valuable Iron Man on the market. So you don't want to see it degrade to nothing. But I think for the most part, the figures themselves should be fine. I think it's just these side pieces that are, they're rubber, and with time, even if it's not exposed to light, the top coating will start to wear, and then you'll have to either try and repair it or just kind of just let it be. But it is disappointing, but it's not something I'm not aware of, and that many Iron Man collectors not aware of. It's just something you have to deal with and accept.
All right, guys, just one quick segment we want to mention too before moving over to the Falcon feature figure review. So Chris, you and I started it last year. I think the three of us have already talked. We want to keep going, but with the Scavengers, the award ceremony, the very prestigious awards that we gave out at the end of the year, TC gave us some ideas. I think it's very noteworthy. So what we want to also do too is give all of our listeners a chance to participate. I mean, we'll have the three of ours. We'll do a combine. We'll each have our lists and stuff. We want to start keeping of some other categories. Last year it was just kind of the top 5 figures, which we'll probably still keep that category. But TC, you had ideas for best sculpt, best tailored, best articulated. Just best overall figure for that top 5, and just get our listeners starting to think about. We've gotten some pretty good figures so far. Chris, you and I were just bemoaning the fact that we don't really have that many new ones this year so far. It's going to be a really busy end of 2019 here. But as we're all starting to think about those ourselves, let's get everybody in the audience thinking about it as well.
Yeah, we'll just start thinking about the figures that have come out so far this year, and kind of keep in mind the figures that are expected to come out, and just kind of, and this is, so Bryan and I last year, we did it based off of figures that we actually had in hand, like our favorite figures that we had in hand. So, we won't necessarily, I don't know if we're going to keep it at that, like kind of the figures that you have as a listener. But it's just one of those things where when you kind of see it in person, it just gives it a different, you get that first hand experience with the figures. And TC's got some great ideas here for different categories, and it'll be fun to see where things play out over the rest of the year. And we had fun with it last year. I think was it Spider-Man from Homecoming? Was that number 1? I forget. Anyway, or Iron Man Mark V. I don't know. Whatever. Yondu. They were all up there.
Yeah, so, a lot of good ones.
Yeah, and we even threw in some Star Wars figures too. It's always a fun thing. I know a lot of other shows do it too, but it's just a fun topic to throw out there.
And, well, now there are more members, so you'll get a much wider voting base, so you'll have a lot more entries, and you'll get a more, I guess it'll kind of normalize. So each vote counts less, but in essence, the votes together will be more significant. So that'll be cool to see. And
yeah, and if anybody wants to volunteer to help us tabulate all these, with almost over 150 members now, we've almost tripled since the last time we did
you got to
that.
set up votes. You got to set up votes on Facebook. Say which is the best. You give like a list.
Yeah, there we go.
We'll do it.
It's a good way to do it. So, all right, guys, let's do this fancy little on-screen display, and I'll see if I can not drop my figure here and see Mr. Sam Wilson, Falcon, and Chris, the Falcon Civil War figure. TC, sorry to leave you out, buddy, but
I've got pictures.
You have pictures, so let's get those going as well. We'll add those to the stream, and these are from the original pre-production photos. All right, guys, as far as I know, this was up for pre-order March 28th, 2016, and I could not find an exact release date, but it looked like it was March 2017-ish was the release, where we started seeing YouTube reviews of this really fantastic figure that I'm really glad we have the opportunity to finally take a look at. All right, so I mentioned this was from Captain America Civil War, MMS 361. The original retail price was $234.99. I think you would be very hard-pressed to find it for that price now. This is a figure that, even when the rumors of a figure coming out for Infinity War or Endgame really didn't do much to suppress the market, guys, because I have it, and Chris, I know, was able to secure it for you. I know Steve was looking for one, and I know Roy helped him with an overseas one. I don't even know what the market is for this run right now, but I know it's high.
It's high. It's very high. No, it is crazy with some of these secondary characters. Just the market. I mean, we talk about it. People really, really want this figure released in Endgame form or Infinity War or whatever. But it's just an awesome figure. I love one of my favorite movies is, I know this figure isn't from that, but he made his debut in Captain America Winter Soldier. And I think the casting of Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson.
Cut the check.
Seriously. I mean, Marvel knows how to knock a casting out of the park. And Hot Toys, I mean, this figure is, pushing 2.5 years old plus at this point. And I gotta tell you, maybe the jointed elbows are like the only thing that I could see being improved upon for this figure. But yeah, it's hard to complain. I'm sorry. Just great looking figure, and hopefully people get another chance. I know Sean Boogie, he's talking about, potentially, a figure coming out for the TV show. I don't know. We'll see. But chances are that's probably going to be a different suit. And I don't know.
There's a lot of detail. Yeah. You mentioned it. Like, the head sculpt is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The head sculpt is a lot stronger than the version for Winter Soldier. I also have that figure.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Winter Soldier figure suffers from is the knee joints. A lot of the figures from that time frame really struggle from that. I think even the Captain America I have from Age of Ultron, just the body type underneath. I hate using the stands for figures, but that's one that I have to. I kind of have the Falcon from Winter Soldier balanced enough that I don't have to use that, but
mm-hmm.
the suit in this is just, there's so much detail. I know obviously TC's sharing the screen, just all the different, intricacies of the suit, the different layers and stuff. The boots are highly detailed.
Mm-hmm.
He comes with tons of accessories too. He has both of, his Uzis that he comes with. Chris, I know you had there's like a forearm gun that you had installed. The shoulder pads are great. There's almost like a you can not quite get it up sideways, but the shoulder pads definitely allow for a lot of articulation. The backpack is great. Obviously, you need to. That's where you'd install the wings. I have yet to actually do that. The goggles that comes with are great. I fully admit, fully disclosure, I'm a little gun shy about having those direct contact to the face sculpt long term, just because I don't want it to leave a mark, which kind of defeats the purpose, because if you have the goggles on, then he's kind of in flight mode. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe one of our listeners have a different take on that, but I'm not sure. I'm ready to do that and leave it long term, but I definitely think this is the stronger Falcon of the two. Obviously, you get what you pay for. Obviously, this is the one commanding a high price. Even the one from Winter Soldier is still above retail. Not much above retail, but it is still above. Just trying to think. I mean,
the colors are so much better on this one.
Yeah,
they are. I mean,
the other one has a more military kind of.
Yeah, it just fits in with the rest of your Infinity War and Endgame figures too.
I know you could just drop this into any of the displays, and I think the suit is it's tailored perfectly. He's got all these cool straps and layers and materials, and the stitching just looks appropriate. Pretty much for the size, the scale. I mean, one of the biggest things is like tucking Red Wing into the right. It's Red Wing, I think it is. Into the backpack. That was fun. It was like a transformer, going into the backpack there. But the wings, man, the wingspan is pretty substantial when fully extended. I mean, you're talking. It's got to be. It's over 2 feet. I couldn't even in my photo booth. Like I couldn't even. I had to put him at an angle to fit him in there. I set up the flight stand and all that fun stuff, and it's even got a little clear acrylic rod for Red Wing to be flying next to him. So it's that's a neat feature. The stand is pretty big. It does take up a big footprint, but if you've got them up with the wings extended, I mean, you're going to be taking up most of a DTOF or a Billy or whatever.
I don't even think he would fit wings extended in a
No,
DTOF. You'd have
right.
to be on top. I think that's one reason why I haven't done that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to go back, guys. I was just looking at our Marvel checklist on sixskillscavengers.com. Shameless plug. And the recent sold prices. Would you guys believe one of the cheapest ones in the last 2 months is almost 4 times retail?
I mean, I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one that was about double or 2.5 times. The lowest sold in the last 2 months, I paid $100 to $125 less than that. For the sake of a lot of our collectors out there, fellow scavengers, I hope they do a reissue of this one, because seeing what this one is going for, even if it's new, mint seal box or whatever, I can't justify paying 4 and 5 times retail. I love the figure. It's great. But like you said, Chris, the elbows, I don't really want to say that they're unsightly. It's just, they're different. It's just because most of the time you've got a figure like this. If it was a Cap figure, that seam, that elbow seam would be covered by the suit. The fact that his getup is, he has short sleeves on, basically. I don't mind it. It's a little bit more pronounced on the Winter Soldier one than it is for this. I don't mind. It doesn't. Your eye is drawn to it, but it doesn't kill the vibe of the figure.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got his, him with his elbows bent like this and kind of straight on, you can't really. Sorry, I'm just trying to. You can't really see it too much, but it doesn't really bother me. I just it's just an awesome figure, and I do, like you said, I do hope that it gets reissued, because I paid, gosh, shipped, it was like $125 more than retail. So I mean, I got a really good deal.
That is good.
And he was used, but I couldn't. I mean, other than not having the plastic material around him and stuff, you couldn't really tell. I couldn't really tell that he was used. Didn't have any issues with it. Had never had the wings put on. So
if they don't reissue this, I don't see the prices stabilizing, because it's going to then be the last version of this type of Falcon with this actor. So presumably with the Winter Soldier and Falcon, that TV series, he's going to be Captain America eventually.
Yeah.
So they might release something along with a more Captain America stylized outfit, but it's the last one. And then you can, not only that, you can put it in any display from Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. So it's got a ton going for it, and it's a quality figure all around. So
on your left.
I don't know. We'll see.
Dude,
yeah.
Chills seeing that. Hearing that in Endgame. It's just him swooping in, and oh man, he's a great character. And I really look forward to seeing the direction that character goes in. We got to wait a little while. It's not going to be until I think fall of next year when the TV show comes out on Disney Plus. But man, Hot Toys really nailed this one. And man, if we can get an Endgame version, I think a lot of people. I mean, there'll be hundreds of dopos.
I would definitely. This one totally. I overlooked it completely, and by the time I got on board, it was way too late for me.
TC, any questions you could think of before we get to the review?
I mean, the articulation looks pretty good. Is that a problem at all? With like the legs and stuff?
Not that I've seen. Actually, honestly, like I have it here on my desk, guys, and it's standing flat-footed, and I'm basically just spinning them around. The balance is spectacular.
I mean, I had him with the wings on in my photo booth, standing up, wings fully extended, and he had his, a natural kind of walking forward kind of pose, and he stood there like a boss. So
if you tossed it over your stairs, would he fly?
I don't know if he's quite Buzz Lightyear, but we'll see. I'm not so keen on taking the risk, though.
Gotcha.
Yeah, not really. Maybe if you want some clicks on YouTube, we could try. But it's a sturdy figure. I think, obviously with like a lot of these figures, if you do mess around with them a lot, I think it could loosen up some of the ankle joints and that sort of thing. But no, you can get him in some great poses for sure.
All right, guys, I'm going to make the executive decision as the main host on what we should review this figure as. Chris, I think we got to go with Red Wing drones.
Of course. I mean,
there's no debate. So, all right, buddy, I'll go to you first. What are you rating this on the number of Red Wing drones?
I mean, as you guys know, I'm not super critical on these figures. I'm very pleased with it, and I kind of look at it, how much I paid for it and what I got. I think if I was paying, 2 or 3, 4 times retail, I think I would be a lot more critical. But for me, I think just because of some of the the elbow articulation, being able to see the joints and that sort of thing, I mean, he's going to be a 4.75 for me, and he's right up there.
Yeah, just one other quick thought. I'm glad they did go with that. I'd rather see the elbow joint than go for a seamless arm, because then you'd have cracking issues and stuff. Where his arm is mostly covered anyways, forearm and the shoulders and stuff. I mean, to be honest, I think I'm actually going to agree with you, Chris. I'm thinking 4.75. It's not quite a 5.0 figure. I'd love to see what other improvements they could make. I love having this on the display next to Cap. I mean, you could fit him in next to Civil War Cap. You can fit him next to Infinity War Cap. I think TC, you said it adequately. I mean, he could fit in. He'll fit in with an Endgame display. There's different things. You could have him flying next to Rhodey in Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's why you guys need 3. So get on that.
Yeah, I'll start. Scavenging eBay again. So, well, but I mean,
good luck with the prices on this, though.
Man, I mean, I got mine through. I think, 1/6 Republic buy sell trade. A friend of Zach from Collecting Weekly or one of his listeners had put it up for sale, and I mean, you're probably going to have to look Facebook groups to try to snag one. But I know there was one other one. I mean, before I got this one, and it sold in like less than a minute. Somebody had snagged it. So you got to be on top of it. And sometimes it's luck of the draw, honestly. But he's a pretty sweet figure.
Some strong scores.
Yeah, I mean, not quite the 5.0 that we had last time out, but
yeah, good stuff.
All right, guys, let's hit it home here. Going into the plug time, we've had a great episode 27 here. We've got our website and YouTube channel, 6scalescavengers.com. YouTube channel, tons of content going up there. Steve with the Secrets of the 6 Scavenger. We just had Roy and Matt drop an excellent episode of Rogue One 6th. More stuff. I mean, the podcast is there. We'll see if this works as a video or not. It seems to be going great, but when I hit end broadcast, we'll see if that sticks. But regardless, you'll be listening to us somehow or watching us. We've got our TeePublic store, 6 Scale Scavengers there. We just had a sale. Thank you to everybody that picked up a shirt. We definitely appreciate it. We get a small portion of each sale. It goes towards our hosting fees on Libsyn. We also just sprung for a premium account here for StreamYard. So if you love the new video format of this and all the screen sharing and being able to see the 3 of us at the screen on one time, that's one way to say thanks. We've got our public Facebook page. We've also got our private group, 6 Scale Scavenger Collectors. If you want to join in on those conversations, answer the questions, and you do have to agree to the rules. We do have some not super hard rules, but just kind of helps us maintain a very active and considerate community we've got there. We're on Instagram. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and 6scalescavengers.libsyn.com. If you want to grab that RSS feed and throw it into your podcast catcher of choice. All right, guys, what do you think of the new format?
I'm digging it.
You're digging it. Put it on a shirt.
That's good.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank Robert for that one. We're going to get that on a shirt once Roy gets back from, I think he's out in Austria right now, living large.
Living it up.
Actually, not even living it up with livestock.
Oh, I know. He's posted some great stuff on Instagram. Just epic views. Stuff I could never even imagine. Hope to someday, travel to Europe and see that stuff. But Roy's got some great ideas for TeePublic, images for shirts and whatnot. And there's other stuff on there too. Check it out. There's coffee mugs and stickers and all sorts of fun stuff. Again, Bryan said it helps. Any little bit helps. And definitely, I'm going to reiterate the website. We've got our Marvel, Star Wars, Hot Toys checklist, and we have our Asmus Lord of the Rings checklist. And there's some eBay affiliate links that'll drop you right into eBay, and you can search through the figures that you're looking for. And if you do purchase a figure using that link, a little bit of that sale helps us as well. So check those out, and all sorts of good stuff.
Good stuff, Chris. TC?
Oh, just thanks for all your support, everybody. And like Bryan said, we have the new StreamYard account, so every little bit helps. And like Chris said, if you just go through those affiliates and do your shopping that way, we get a little bit back, and that'll help us as well. And please give us your feedback on if you like this format, and we'll see if it sticks, like Bryan said. So that's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, TC. All right, Chris, bring it home, my friend.
Excelsior.